Nichols is the author of Granite Harbor. Peter, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Brian.
Tell us a little bit about Granite Harbor. The tagline has colored me intrigued by this one.
Well, they say write what you know, and I don't know anything about serial killers, really, so I had to research for that. But a lot of what the story is about stems from my fears as a single parent of a teenager. And so, I don't know if you have kids, but if you have kids, and the moment they're born, you fear for them. And so in this day and age, it's easy to imagine something horrible.
Yeah, a lot of bad things, sure.
So that was it. And then living in a small town in Maine, which itself has a kind of nice, suggestive history. So I thought I'd write a serial killer book, and that was it.
So you just mentioned it was being a single parent. You thought, okay, let me dream up the worst thing that could happen.
Yes. I mean, there are terrible things that happen, and some things happen in this book that are sort of typical for kids getting into trouble. But the idea of something coming out of left field and going after your kid is, well, that frightened me, and so that was the genesis for the book. And then living in where I live, a little town that I call Granite Harbor, on the coast of Maine. It's so beautiful, and it also has its history, and not a nefarious history, but a history that lends itself to that sort of genre book, I think.
So tell me a little bit more about this book. Yeah, exactly.
Well, it's about it actually is about a failed novelist, which I'm not failed yet, but that's the fear. That's another fear. So be a failed novelist. It's a failed novelist who finds himself in a little town in Maine, and he's broke. And this is actually something that a friend of mine did, a musician. He was broke, he had a family, the music wasn't making it, so he went onto the town website to look for a job in Maine, and he ended up being a prison guard at the Supermax in Warren. And so I thought, well, if I was broke, what would I do? I'd maybe have to go on to the town website and so what my detective, failed novelist, does is he finds a job as a policeman. And his skills as a novelist are actually quite well suited to being a policeman.
Inquisitive,
intuition, people stories, and stuff like that. And the evidence is, and then when I was writing the book, I put myself in his position. I thought, well, if you're the police, who do you call? If there's, where do you find out about this stuff? So it was a really interesting trip for me to pretend I was a policeman after a killer. And there was a lot of scientific stuff in there that I had to research too. So I now know a little bit about dimethyltryptamine, which is the psychoactive ingredient in not only mushrooms, but certain animals. And my son and I now have arguments about where it comes from. But
so literally enough to be dangerous. Yes. Right. Where can people get the book if they are so inclined? Where can they learn more about you?
They can learn more about me, I guess, by Googling and looking on Amazon. And they can get the book at their local bookstore, their local independent bookstore, who can order it if they don't have it, and otherwise one of the big, Amazon,
sure,
Barnes & Noble, that stuff.
Buy local until you can't.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
Exactly.
Right,
They're wonderful local bookstores.
Absolutely.
Like one in Castine that I was in the other day.
Okay, lovely stuff. The book is called Granite Harbor. That's Peter Nichols. I'll just give you this. A page-turner that evokes the atmosphere of HBO's Mayor of Easttown and a villain reminiscent of Thomas Harris's Silence of the Lambs.
And failed novelists.
So not yet.
Not yet.
And not to be. Yes. Not at all.
Right.
We'll find some wood. We'll knock it. Great to meet you. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely.